Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Talk Shop. We are recording this before we've even posted our pilot. So
two or 1.1 or special episode number 1 or something
whatever.
like that.
I guess this is the Talk Shop Super Bowl edition.
It is. I just got done seeing you emote probably more than I ever have in our entire 20 plus years of friendship.
That's my team, man.
That's
my team.
Yeah.
So just a little background. I started rooting for the New England Patriots in 1998 because I was 8 and they were called the Patriots and, yay America. So that was literally what happened with the team.
Yeah.
And the game I decided, I like these Patriots. I'm going to watch them. Drew Bledsoe, who was their quarterback at the time, had a great game and they won. And it was fun. They won something like only 6 or 7 games that season. They weren't very good.
Yeah.
But I was hooked. And then, the next year they hired this guy named Bill Belichick, and they went 5-11. They were bad, just bluntly bad. But, I wasn't at that point hugely into football. I was trying to do my own thing. I was a mediocre, undersized wrestler. I was about 5'2" at the time. Very chubby, not really grown into my body yet. I couldn't make any sports teams. I couldn't do anything. They draft the 6th-round draft pick named Tom Brady, who, before I know it, is starting, right? And if you want to see something that'll blow your freaking mind after what you just witnessed, if you watch the Super Bowl, watch Tom Brady run the 40-yard dash at his NFL combine. Slow, gangly, chubby, not defined. And he goes on, and, they win the Super Bowl the year in 9/11, and I was hooked. The New England Patriots win the Super Bowl the year in 9/11. I was hooked. I became a huge fan. So, that's how I came to root for an out-of-market team. I suffered some amazing highs with the team, the dynasty of the early millennium, and a lot of lows. The 18-1 season was awful. It broke my heart. I actually went to watch it in the first sports gear I'd ever bought myself. With my own money. And if you know back, when you're 16 years old, buying $250 worth of gear, it takes some doing.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of shifts at the Baskin Robbins. And, I got chased out of the local sports bar by Giants fans who were threatening to hurt me. So it was it was a very impactful moment. So I've been through the highs, I've been through the lows. I melted down and cried like a baby when Malcolm Butler intercepted Russell Wilson on the goal line in 2014. And I didn't cry tonight, but I think it's fair to say there was some emoting.
there was. There was quite a bit. We were at one point told to clear the floor, literally, because you were gonna sprint back and forth,
and did,
as you did, gleefully,
until my legs gave out.
The Patriots came back from, what was it, 28 to 3 to win the game. Yeah.
So if you didn't see it, here's a recap. The Atlanta Falcons, who, by the way, what a team. I meant what I said in the pilot episode. That team is grease lightning in football form, incredibly talented. And I think this game proved they're stacked everywhere. Folks had written their defense off coming into this, and those boys turned up. Tom Brady got hit and knocked around and dominated in the first quarter, about as bad as I've seen him get dominated in a half, I should say. The second quarter was much worse than the first. The first was actually
I'm just going to interject really quick here, by the way, and say that this isn't all we're going to talk about today. We're also talking about Pillars of Eternity, so if you're more on the gaming side of Lord stick with us.
I'm just finishing it.
But this man deserves this. So
it was just incredible to watch. It was incredible to watch an amazing team like the Atlanta Falcons kick the shit out of my favorite team.
Yeah.
And then my team finally, and it was in the fourth quarter, by the way. They didn't even really get a lot done in the third. So to watch my team claw their way back like Rocky, you'll never see anything like that again. That what they just did should be impossible. And I know that's another heartbreaker for Atlanta sports fans. And if there are any Atlanta fans listening, so much respect to your team, so much respect to your organization. I think you've probably got one of the probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you will for years. He's young. He's incredible. Your defense is growing. Dan Quinn has obviously turned that unit into something to be feared. Julio Jones isn't human, so he's going to have some more good seasons. And I'm not going to lie. Y'all are my pick for next year. You're going to win your division. The Saints, the Panthers, they've got nothing for you. And I don't know who's going to stop you if you get better this offseason. I mean, what an incredible team. And
I would hope the Vikings, but
you would.
I'm a Denver, Minnesota guy myself, respectively in their
That's a good team. That's a good team. They're a couple offensive linemen away from being a really good team.
The thing is that this was like one of the first seasons since I was a kid that I actually followed the regular season for NFL. I usually kind of pay attention in the playoffs if I hear a team I like is in it, or especially the Super Bowl. But yeah, and it's like Denver and Minnesota were both looking really good for like their first 4 or 5 games, and then it completely went off the rails.
Well, Minnesota stopped being able to protect their quarterback, and Denver's quarterback stopped being good. Like that's essentially what happened to both those teams.
As I'm sure you might ask, as Brandon Jonely asked me on Twitter, do you only root for the Vikings because they're called the Vikings? No, I actually do have relatives from the Great Lakes, but yes, I root for Minnesota over Detroit because they're called the Vikings.
There you go.
Really, I have more family in Michigan than I do in Minnesota.
Although I was admittedly 8 years old, I started rooting for the Patriots because of their name. So
that's the thing. Yeah, and I'll always root for the Broncos because I'm a Colorado boy. If we had a Victoria II-esque Civil War scenario where the Colorado Republic became independent, I would fight for the Colorado Republic. My dad is
a Raiders fan, and he harbors such hatred for the Broncos that it was basically impossible for me to ever become a fan.
Well, that's right, because his side of the family is all Northern California.
My dad lived in Northern California until he was like 15 years old. Yeah. So so the greatest comeback in sports history. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick win number 5. They're the greatest head coach in history and the greatest QB in history. I think that debate is over. I'm privileged to have watched it. I'm also admittedly privileged to have watched probably the next Seattle Seahawks, I would say, and the Falcons. They're the next team that for 2-3 years are going to be in it every step of the way. They're incredible.
It was funny because I worked until 8 p.m. Mountain Time tonight, which was kind of like, I think I went home like right after halftime or something. And that was at the point where it was like
28-3.
Yeah, 28-3. And I know we had planned to record something tonight, and I was like, man, DM is not going to be in the mood to record anything tonight. And then I get back, and like immediately after I get home, they tie it. It's like, holy shit.
It shouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
So in that vein, I know we're not necessarily a sports company. We're not necessarily a sports channel. But it's a big part of my identity. And it's a big part of my life.
It's a part of the brand of Talk Shop, too.
I was an athlete. Yeah. Like, here's the thing you got to know about me. I wrestled. I played tennis. I boxed.
Yeah.
Did a little mixed martial arts. Granted, I was an individual sports guy, but I was an athlete for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I spent 3 of those 10 years actually at a pretty high level. So this was a big part of my life. And rooting for sports and sports fans are a part of my life. You know what the coolest thing I think I've ever done live is? When I was in law school, I won tickets to the World Series in 2012 that the San Francisco Giants won. I got to go to one of their home games when they swept the Detroit Tigers, and that was magical. That was one of the coolest live experiences I've ever had. Watching a historically meaningful game when you're in the stands is it's just one of the coolest things a human being can experience. And even people who aren't into athletic competition, who use things like sports ball, I've never actually taken someone to a football game or a postseason game in any sport and had them come away not thinking it was one of the coolest things.
That's the thing, because like when I was in like late high school, early college, I was one of those guys who was like, sports ball, but I just posted a big thing about it on Twitter right before the game started that a lot of people were liking and stuff. That was like, it doesn't do you any good to ruin someone else's enjoyment of something they love.
Doesn't make you better. Like, doesn't make you bigger. Doesn't make you a man.
I know that the quarterback on the football team like called you a homo for liking video games in high school, but that guy's in the drug take for public urination now, and you shouldn't really care about his opinion anymore.
Well, see, I don't know, man. The quarterbacks who played for my high school are all really successful,
Actually,
cool
I
dudes.
shouldn't even say that, because most of the football players at my high school were
some of the coolest dudes I knew.
Cool dudes, yeah.
Yeah,
I had actually one of my D&D friends was on the football team one year.
My D&D group was the football offensive line.
He didn't play senior year, but he was on. I think it was either freshman or sophomore year.
So, I gotta say this though.
Yeah.
Well, it's just to let you guys know, 5 to 15 minutes of every talk shop will include sports. We'll always warn you when it's coming, and we'll always give you an estimate of how long it's going to go, so you could skip it. But
talk some football, talk some MMA. Definitely,
we're part of the brand. Yeah, and this is what we love to do.
Definitely.
So in that note, though, here's the discussion that I kind of wanted to provoke. We just witnessed the greatest comeback in football history.
Before we do that, let's talk about what we're imbibing.
Oh my goodness! All right, so we are currently on at our lovely new property. By the way, we are now 16 days post move.
The new lore house is
incredible.
Tremendously better than the old lore house, and I do want to say
it's really not even in the same league.
You guys played a role in that. I'm not saying that we're making enough money off of Loresword to pay our rent at this point.
We're not.
But
Spoiler alert.
The success that we've had and our desire to push
emboldened us to be a little ambitious with this move.
We were a little ambitious. We wanted to get closer to Denver, closer to networking.
We wanted a bigger spot that we could convert into a better production space. So we reached.
Definitely.
We're paying a little bit more. It was a little scary.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, TJ. I rank moving here as one of the best decisions I've ever made. Like this has been an incredible 16 days.
And it's really it does kind of show that a path exists to solvency doing this kind of thing yourself, because the amount extra we're paying here versus where we used to live. We could probably cover that discrepancy with Loresworn money.
It's about $200. The difference comes to about $220.
So we our lives have definitely been bettered based on the fact that you guys have decided to
that's our
tune
thank
in
you.
And hang out with us. Yeah,
that's our disclaimer about content. We just witnessed the greatest comeback in sports history. We are now smoking in celebration, and I think TJ, just because he's amused to see how happy I am.
I'm celebrating with you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
we are. I was just drinking an Angry Orchard. I love cider. I drank gallons of the stuff when I lived in New Zealand.
I've been doing some 90 shilling from Odell in Fort Collins.
I had one of those too. I've had a lot tonight. Wow.
Yeah, and I've now moved on. I'm breaking the beer before liquor rule, and I decided to bust out some of my Bowmore single malt. I'm actually drinking it straight because the spring water decanter thing I usually use was in the back of the fridge and is now completely frozen. But it's interesting. We're doing that we're both smoking cigars, and it's interesting how the smokiness of the cigar brings out some of the smokiness and some of the seaweed flavor in this.
If you listened to our pilot talk shop, if you haven't, go do that because I thought it was
classy as fuck.
I thought it was a great pilot podcast. If I do say so myself, I extolled the virtues of dipping, in that it not only unlocks some cool flavor dimensions in the cigar you're smoking, but often benefits the liquor as well. And man, I'm a port guy. I like dipping my cigar in port or brandy best. But a good Irish whiskey is not a bad dipping companion for a cigar. There are some like I think Wild Turkey and a cigar is an amazing combination.
I think I might buy a bottle of like a big bottle of something just for dipping. Like
I recommend Wild Turkey. That's my dipping bourbon. It's served me very well. And I will buy a good bottle of brandy because brandy is what you're supposed to dip a high quality cigar.
Right.
And we'll be classy as fucking it up here. So what are you smoking?
I've got since mine's the less prestigious, I'll go first. I've just got a Padromo Fresco. It's a nice kind of medium-bodied Nicaraguan tobacco.
A cheaper option, but highly recommended by the cigar guys at our new shop.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a brand I wasn't familiar with before now, but I'm enjoying it.
Perdomo's
solid. And then on the other end of the scale...
I am smoking a Rocky Patel sun-grown Maduro. This is one of the finer cigars they make. And, by the way, Rocky Patel makes a stellar product. I don't typically smoke them, I'll admit. This is maybe the 5th or 6th Rocky Patel. DJ's over there rocking it out.
Overdoing it a little bit because I like the taste of this with the scotch so much.
Yeah, you gotta pace yourself, bro. You get a little ill.
I'll be all right.
Nah, the Rocky Patel isn't a brand that I find myself smoking a lot.
Yeah.
I think that this is probably maybe the 6th or the 7th I've ever had of Rocky Patel, but they're incredible. I've enjoyed every single one.
Yeah.
Their flavors are just a little bit more mellow than I typically like, but this sun-grown Maduro is quite robust for a lot of the other RPs I've had, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. We've only been smoking these for about 20 minutes, so we're still in the opening throes.
Yeah.
I'm in a leather jacket right now.
Classy drug.
I'm in a leather jacket. I'm in fitted clothes. I'm in I'm in Brooks tennis shoes, so I suppose that kind of breaks the
illusion. I wear trail runners everywhere. Like literally, I buy one pair of trail runners and then I'll wear exclusively that.
So you know where I lose? You know where I feel like I lose most of my classy as fuck cred? Yeah. We took a little video of me taking my oath of admission to become a Colorado attorney. I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm wearing the longest, skinniest tie. Like, oh my God. I'm wearing a tie a 6'4" person should be wearing. It looked awful. And the shirt I chose, well, a delightful subdued blue that went with my dress shoes. I think, looking back, I think I got that dress shirt in college, and I'm a little bigger now. Spoiler alert. Some of it's muscle, some of it's fat, so I'm not being self-deprecating. Yeah. I'm bigger in every way now, but it is stretched a little obscenely over me, and I did not have the classy as fuck ambiance, but I got a bar number, so kick it. But yeah, what I wanted to get to is in the nature of rocking it, in the nature of the greatest comeback of all time, in the nature of snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, just moments of epicness that make you go hoarse, or at least just make you lean back and go, wow. Because I think if you're a football fan and you're a fan of the game and not just a Patriots hater, which admittedly there are a lot of Patriots haters out there, but if you're a fan of the game, you've got to have at least sat back after that game and been like, wow, what did I just watch? Wow. What are your experiences in life that were in that mold? You did what shouldn't have been done. You did the impossible. You came back. You snatched victory from the jaws of defeat.
In the heady days of 2011, when I was kind of finishing up my
those days were indeed heady. Yeah, the Pats lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants that year.
There you go, tying back in. Yeah, I was kind of. I was supposed to be working on my final exams for college. It was kind of my last full year of college because I went to a 2-year program, but I stayed a little longer and took the minimum number of credits so that I could keep working on the newspaper because I loved it. And I ended up parlaying it into an internship at PC Gamer.
You got to and that's one of those things where it's like you got to follow what moves you, man.
Right, exactly. But when I was supposed to be studying for my exams for like the 12 credit hours I was taking, even that was apparently a little too onerous because I was playing quite a bit of the StarCraft 2 beta, which I had just gotten a key for.
Which, by the way, one of the all-time great betas.
Oh yeah,
like that game was ready to rock.
Such a good time. I mean, just the whole scene, pro and just like on the ladder during those Wings of Liberty beta days was just a hell of a lot of fun.
You're good. I just dropped Dash. Yeah, it's all good.
All right. Well,
it didn't get on me. I'm just making sure it didn't get on anything important.
So, if you hear us die in a fire, that's probably why, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, that's what happened. I see no embers.
Yeah, if this is like some Blair Witch shit, like they found this phone that we're recording on, which, by the way, I'm calling this a special episode because we are recording it on a phone on the deck, so it's not our usual quality of recording.
And you know what? Who fucking cares?
But
we're having a good time.
Hey, there was the game I definitely remember was the game right before I got placed in Gold League, which, for those of you who don't remember, there used to be a Copper League, so Gold League in beta is what Platinum is now. So I'd only been playing for, really it was less than a month, maybe it was a little more than a month.
So you were making some real
progress.
But
yeah, I was at the library on the campus Wi-Fi, grinding out some ladder matches on StarCraft 2. And the match right before I got placed in gold for that season of beta was it was TVP, Terran vs. Protoss, because I always played Terran. I still mostly only play Terran. And this guy cheesed the shit out of me with this like cannon rush build thing that...
Here's the thing, right? Cheese, knock it. But when someone executes it to perfection, you can get to silver on that shit.
You can.
And nothing else.
Yeah. Well, and so the thing is, it did a lot of damage. Like, I didn't respond to it fast enough to, like...
You survived it, but you were hurting.
I survived with, like... I don't even remember, like, 6 SCVs or something.
You were survived, but you
were
hurting.
Survived it. I barely survived it. I chased his probe so he couldn't keep dropping pylons. I killed the probe. And what I realized was this guy wins all of his matches this way.
He's not going to be ready.
He doesn't actually know how to play a macro game.
He doesn't actually know how to finish his victory when he doesn't finish it.
The thing is, I was a gold player, in today's parlance, a platinum player, at least in today's league structure.
He's your typical front runner boxer. So if you can make it out of the first couple rounds, he's clueless.
So I wasn't great either. So I wasn't able to just be like, but
your game was
I killed your cheese and now the game's over. It wasn't quite like that. But as it went on and as we sort of threw our death stacks at each other, it became clear that
you had the macro, he did not.
I had the macro, and I slowly but surely built up an economic advantage over him until I just completely overwhelmed him and he rage quit out of the game. And then I saw that Gold League placard come up, and that was a really great moment. That was like when I was really feeling the StarCraft 2.
I like it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I like it.
What's one that comes to mind for you?
I have when we're talking about this, I have 3 instances. One of which happened in an actual athletic competition, and the other 2 in games. I'll match your multiplayer with multiplayer for my turn.
Okay.
And record of this may exist somewhere.
Yeah.
When we first started playing Overwatch, competitively, we streamed it, and we were bad. Like we were at this point we'd only had a couple characters we were even comfortable with.
Well, you were bad. I was bad. Like I'm not really a shooter guy. Like I could fuck up Reinhardt, and this is back in the early days of
we were lucky.
Overwatch, where Reinhardt was like auto pick.
We were playing the game, and we had a couple of your friends from like school came on, and we joined a group with them, and they were higher level players than us. Let's be real. I don't know where we stand now, but then they were better.
They'd been playing it longer.
But we got paired against a team with 4 level 70s on it. Who were in a group. 4 level 70s.
I think it was like a 2-2. I don't think it was a full solid group before, but it was
we were outmatched in a big way. The highest level of our team was a guy who wasn't even in our chat. He was the one guy on our team who was in our chat. He was level 26. I was level 9. You were level 13, and your friends were in the high teens.
Yeah.
And the first match was at first round was at Volskaya Industries, and this team did us dirty about like you would predict they would.
It was,
did it take? I don't think it took 10 minutes.
No, it was over. It was over really quick.
I have never, to this day, I have never been wrecked beginning Volskaya that bad.
I mean,
to this day, I have never had someone just penetrate into the interior of that first zone. I think they captured the first zone in like 2. Like we weren't even killing them. Like I think we got like a grand total of 3 eliminations.
The time between the start of the round and them taking the first point was really fast, and then the time between 1 and 2 was really fast, and then I think we might have held the third one a little bit longer.
What goes on? No, it was they took 2 because Volskaya is just 2, and we're down 1-0, and it was something absurd. Like
I was thinking about the time that this same.
You know those I forget what they call them because I haven't played Overwatch in 4 months. By the way, we're reviving Overwatch War Room tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
So and that should be funny because we're out of practice.
We know nothing about the new meta except that it's quote more aggressive, according to my colleagues at PC Gamers.
We'll see. We'll see if I can keep calm and reap on and reap my way out of that situation. But we were red, right? And the entire thing was I think we got like 5 eliminations in that round. They ran train on our sorry butts.
Well, yeah.
So then we go to the next zone. We go to the Lishang Tower. And I think you were playing Genji or some shit, just cuz.
I might have.
And he told us like
when we get destroyed really badly, I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going Genji.
Yeah, I mean,
for the
you started as Reinhardt, but eventually we were so screwed he went Genji. Stayed behind the group the entire second round, behind your shield, and somehow I guess I learned how to aim, like overnight. I was able to lay some covering fire and get some good shots off with my rockets, and our teammates, including the one we weren't on chat with, Mr. Level 26. Mr. Level 26 turned out was a badass Mercy. Like, we didn't know where he was holding that from, so we switched up characters, we steeled ourselves, we made adjustments, and I remember it was 38 minutes in Lishang Tower. We went to war with this squad.
I still smile when that map comes up because
of that match.
Because of that, and because we've made some crazy comebacks on that map in our Overwatch
38 minutes. Mm-hmm. At one point, folks, they were at 99%, and we slugged it out with them on the point for 8.5 minutes. Took it back and held it with, I do believe it was my ultimate.
Yeah.
You know, I've got you in my sights that let us, at the very end of the match, that let us hold on to win the round.
Yeah.
And it's 1-on-1, and at that point we're like, that's the craziest, like, it must have been they choked.
Well, and I think it was right after a Mercy ult, too, because I think they basically wiped us except for, like, 2 people.
And then our Mercy.
And then we had a Mercy ult, and then you were still alive.
And had my ult.
You had your ult, and that was, like, enough momentum to...
We got him off. I got I got my first ever quadruple kill with that ult. My first ever.
This is on the record. If you play Overwatch against you, we will get you off.
We will. Firmly, sternly, and in a way that might make you feel a little ashamed later. So we're tied. It's 1-1, and we go into the next round, and we're just happy we did this. Like, I swear, this team was all players in their 60s and 70s. And they were better than us. The first round showed that. So to come back and take a round off of them, a nearly 40-minute round.
I think there was some element of they beat us so badly in the first round that they probably
let the foot off the gas.
Weren't on their
maybe switched to characters they weren't as comfortable with for the beginning of the next match. But in the second match, in the third one, they come back with the squad they rolled us with in the first round. Like, the same players were playing the same... Like, they went back to, all right. Like, it definitely had this feeling of, we're not playing around anymore. That wasn't funny, like, kind of thing. They went back to the same team comp. And at this point, we're all just like, all right, guys, let's see if we can do better.
Yeah.
Like, they beat us in, like, 8 minutes with this... Like, let's see if we can ride some momentum and actually give them a fight. We roll them in 12 minutes to win the match. Like, it was kind of like, what? You know, we rolled over them. It was easy.
Yeah.
It was like, it's the most improbable Overwatch match I've ever won. And yeah, it was on Play Now, you know, but we had no business doing what we did in that middle match. And I think we had them, I imagine in my head that they were bickering on their team chat because they had no we just rolled them in the tiebreak. Like, it was almost as one-sided as how bad they rolled us. They had no coordination. I think they dropped, like, 2 ults. Like, we kicked the crap out of them, and we won the match. It was really cool.
I think the only match that compares to that for me in terms of, like, fond memories is the one where we decided to go, Shimada only, all Genji and Hanzo against the team that was playing seriously, and we kicked the shit out of them. that was fucking hilarious.
Yes,
that was an amazing match. Yeah.
Yes, it was. The other team was even talking into shout.
No
they were
tank,
like, "Fuck this shit."
No healer. They were playing seriously, and the thing is, we did so well by the novelty of it that they started getting really butthurt and flustered, and we just rolled the map. It was great.
They started doing all the stuff you don't do against Genji and Hanzo, opening fire on Genji, grouping up when you know a Hanzo has his ult. Like, they melted. It was glorious. My favorite other Overwatch memory is we should have had video of this, but it got deleted. My first ever map playing Winston, I had 34 eliminations against 1 death and 4 gold medals. And my team, even in team chat, was like, bow down.
If I get an elimination as Winston, I feel like
I don't know what was happening. I was just all over the place. Like, I was feeling it.
Yeah.
My Tesla cannon didn't stop, I don't think, at all.
Yeah.
Except but to reload, and I was just wrecking train. And that was pretty cool, because I'd actually literally never played Winston before. That was my first minutes logged in that game, and I had what is probably my most dominant round of Overwatch, maybe only second to my 28-0 round is Reaper, where I had 2 team kills solo. Yeah. You were there for that one, and that one we actually do have on an episode of Overwatch War Room. I'd never seen another player get 1 team kill solo, much less 2 on the same map, so I was pretty proud of that. But now let's move to the single-player vein. What is your epic come-from-behind moment in the single-player vein?
I was trying to think of, like, a really epic comeback in a single-player game. I know I have them, for sure. Why don't you go ahead? I'll try to think if I can think of one off the top of my head.
Alrighty. So Pillars of Eternity.
I knew you were gonna. Yeah.
Yep. So Pillars of Eternity. We got that game like the day it came out. So we're playing it.
I got it like
and
3 days before.
Yeah, there's Pillars is a great throwback to classic RPGs in that it's got a meta. Like there's a difference between a good PC and a bad PC in Baldur's Gate, and Pillars is a little bit more forgiving, but you know, I didn't know what I was doing, so my paladin wasn't great in retrospect. I hadn't built him right. I was having a lot of trouble at the end of the game, like winning fights, but they were bloodbaths.
By the way, something Obsidian is really good at that they don't get a lot of credit for is creating these character progression systems that
are deep.
They're really deep and they're well thought out. Like if you just look up strategies for how to beat the dragon on the final level of Odd Nua, which I had a hell of a time with to start with.
My first playthrough, my character wasn't good enough.
Yeah, you're like, okay, they actually, they know what they're doing in terms of building a class-based, party-based RPG combat engine.
Man. So I get to the final boss, and I survived my way through that final dungeon. Like, let's be real. This was not triumphant. I was getting the sense that I had not done a great job building my party.
Lighter there.
I had not done a great job building my party, and I was having a lot of trouble. And I got to Theos, and Theos on hard is actually not a bad final boss. He's challenging, and I think he gets credit for that in the community. He's challenging.
Very challenging.
Especially on hard.
He's like a really good World of Warcraft raid boss, and that you need to understand his mechanics, you need to understand what to do in which phases, and you need to understand what everybody in your party is responsible for at any given time. Yeah. As much as I criticize aspects of the combat in Pillars of Eternity, definitely if you go back and find my review of it. It was
a little clumsy.
Yeah, the part that I called the weakest, mainly because, and they totally fixed it in Tyranny, and they're totally, from what I can tell, going the right direction with Pillars 2, where it was the pace of it. It was just too much micromanagement. It was too much pausing. There was, it didn't have a good rhythm to it. I think was my main criticism of it.
Yeah, but it's not going well. Like my Aloth goes down fast, and I mean like down, and I'm starting to use my reses, and stuff with Durance quick, and I'm making no progress.
Yeah.
So it was just bad. It was one of those. It's like I used up all my healing items and all my healing spells just surviving the first 5 minutes. Like I made no progress. The statues weren't hurt.
Yeah.
Theos wasn't hurt. And so far, I come up with this Hail Mary strategy on the fly. Like I pause the game and I take a deep breath. And I'm like, I gotta beat this game. I'm not gonna replay the whole thing just to make my characters better, have a better build.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to win. I've got to figure out a way to win.
Yeah.
So I put Eder alone on one statue because the one thing I did do a good job of in my first playthrough, I made Eder a tank. Like a good Eder is tough to kill. He was always last man standing when I'd get wiped. So I put him by himself on a statue, literally just to occupy the dude with his HP, his defense, and somehow I got him to the point where he actually had a fairly high regeneration rate, so he was tough to kill.
There's some items you can slap on him.
So Bill Belichick style, I take one of those statues out of the game with Eder, and I put the rest of my party on the other one, and in true movie fashion, I put my PC on Theos 1-on-1.
Yeah.
Literally just to try to hold him back. Because the other thing I did a pretty good job with was my Paladin was a pretty good tank.
Yeah.
He was a two-handed tank, and he's good survivability. So I was like, okay, I pray to God that 3 members of my party can get this done. Go help Eder, and then reinforce me. Well, due to some well-timed critical hits, actually, Eder makes a fight of that. Of his matchup with the statue. By the skin of their teeth, though, my party members got the other statue done. it took down 2 of them, and the other one was in the red when it fell. And the run in the red went over, helped Eder a little bit, and then they fell, and I'm out of reses. So it's Eder against an ailing statue, and me against Theos. And Theos he's hurting, but he's still in the green. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I've gotten some good licks in. He is kicking my ass.
And Eder has a hard time doing enough damage to take those statues out. Like, he can stay in the fight, but he's not. Especially if you build him like a tank, like we both did.
So I'm in the red.
Yeah.
Before I know it, as my PC. And I get a good shot in one of the Paladin's special abilities, that special strike he's got to do extra elemental damage. Yep. And Theos finally goes into the yellow. Eder scores a critical hit and takes down the statue. He did 90% of the work fighting that statue by himself.
Yeah.
Like, I only kept, I think it was the Grieving Mother alive long enough to hit a couple of her Cypher damage-dealing abilities to help him out. He runs over to help me with Theos. Theos hits that, like, super awesome AoE he's got. Eder goes down. He crits Eder.
Yeah.
Like, literally before Eder swings his sword. Like, he crits him, he's down.
So that you're at that point mentally where you're like, okay, so what am I going to do different next time I
This is doable. I'm not discouraged, but I'm like, this is doable. I can do this. And I was actually, it's like, maybe if I started with that strategy and actually laid a couple of those trap glyphs that Durance has got to help, to hurt the statues a little bit so that my party can maybe get through them in time to help me. So I'm already starting to think that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then my character hits Theos with a huge critical hit. And then he hits him with a second huge critical hit in a row. Theos is in red. Theos hits me back. I'm down in the red. I hit him again for like 2 damage. I'm like, fuck. He hits me again. I'm on death's door. I hit him again. 4 damage. Fuck. You know what I mean? Yep. He hits me again. I'm down to 1 HP. Like, literally, 1 HP. The next shot he hits me with not only knocks my PC out, but kills him.
Yeah.
Like, I got injuries. I got, I'm down to 1 HP. I shit you not. I see Theos is in the red, though, so I'm encouraged. I'm like, I can beat this guy. Like, I can win this boss. I get my attack. He starts his attack animation for one of his, special abilities. I just swing my sword. I get natural 20s. I crit him. I kill him. With 1 HP, 1 final crit. 3 of my last 5 hits on him were crits.
That's like, you can't even, no game designer can create a scenario that will create that kind of a movie, finale moment.
One-on-one with my party members down for the count. With 1 HP left. I killed Theos with a critical hit on hard.
And as I remember, that was like the point where you kind of went from saying Pillars is a really good game to saying like, oh man, Pillars, I'm going to remember this game.
Well, and that's, I will. If I were to give Pillars a score out of 10, I couldn't give it over an 8. And 8's good for me, by the way. I'm actually known around the lore house for being the harsh one. So 8's a good. I am the harsh one. 8's a good score.
You are definitely the harsh one.
8's a good score for me. I couldn't give it even an 8.1. It's an 8.
Yeah.
But I will remember it forever because of that boss fight. It's the single most epic final boss I've ever experienced in an RPG.
Yeah.
And that goes down in your personal lore. You know what I mean? That goes down in your... And so credit for Obsidian for designing a game that, was Pillars good? Yes. Was it very good? Arguably. Was it great? No. But it has it has a top 10 moment of my gaming life. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think one I had recently was actually when the Wood Elf DLC came out for Total War Warhammer, and I didn't understand how their campaign works, and I didn't understand that every time you upgrade the Oak of Ages, it spawns a trigger on the next turn that will have a giant Beastman army basically appear right in your territory, and of course they declare war on me immediately, and my army was off
doing other things,
vampires in Musalon or something.
It was off doing other things.
Yeah, it would have taken them like 6 turns on Force March to even get back there. So I had just the garrison on the Oak of Ages, and if you lose the battle for the Oak of Ages, you lose the campaign. So I do my meticulous planning of all right, I'm gonna have these guys here. I'm gonna sacrifice this unit and this unit. Sacrifice all my cavalry just to try to pin them long enough for my archers to do enough damage. But it ended up in such a way that, the defensive line I had built with my Wood Elf archers, it turned out in such a way that there was an area I could have defended with a single unit of Way Watchers that was, off to the side somewhere. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let them have... If they want to attack me from that direction, I'm just gonna let them do it. Like putting these Weight Watchers here isn't gonna make much of a difference. I have the area I want to defend it adequately. I was like, just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna stick this unit of Weight Watchers like out on their flank, outside of like the defensible ridge line, and just stick them in the forest, let them do some flanking damage, some harass, whatever. I'm not really paying much attention to what this particular unit of archers is doing for most of the battle, other than every once in a while getting them to change targets. Then inevitably the beastmen send minotaurs or some shit over there.
Something you're just not going to stop.
Completely wood elf troops that get into melee with monstrous infantry doesn't usually end well unless you have some really good general abilities, which I didn't because all of my legendary lords were elsewhere. So it got to this point in the battle where I was pretty sure I was going to lose. Like, I had all of my units were beat to shit.
And that sucks.
And they didn't have very many troops left, but they had much better morale than I did. And the thing that I remembered about fighting Beastmen, because I had just played a very long campaign as Beastmen, is they have that Bestial Rage or whatever it's called, where they get a buff to
damage, I believe.
Damage or morale or something until they start wavering.
And then they get like a
Beastmen are like
they get like a nerf, right?
You have to win on the first push of momentum, or
if you're going to use that ability,
you're going to lose a lot of your army's best
troops
ability. So I'm like, okay, what are my options here? I look off. This unit of Way Watchers that I'd like stationed on the flank and got wrecked by Minotaurs, they're now like
coming back
a third of the way across the map, and they've regrouped. And they're like down to a third of their strength or something like that. But the Minotaurs at this point are dead. I think I got them with some, I did some.
You finally laid enough punishment on
Dryads or something, yeah. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna bring these guys around back and
try to hit a rear action.
I'm gonna move across their line from the back basically and see how many of these shock troops they have left I can get to waver and get them to lose that bestial vigor buff or whatever it's called. And I actually pulled it up. Like, I managed to get enough of them to waver that it started a chain route. I'm outnumbered almost 2-1 at this point, but it actually started a chain route from this.
The beastmen are vulnerable to that. They're vulnerable to chain routes.
This unit of archers that I had just randomly decided to station on the flank, and at that point I'd been like, yeah, they're dead. I mean, he sent mentors after them. They're not in a defensible location. There's really nothing I can do at this point. And yeah, that was... I defended the Oak of Ages with just a garrison force against this giant 2-stack Beastmen army I didn't even know was coming. And, lost the campaign 3 turns after that. But
doesn't matter.
It was a nice tactical comeback. It was a symbolic victory.
So I'm going to lead into this because we got to talk about my athletic comeback triumph. First, I got to lead you in. I remember the finest athletic comeback triumph I've ever seen that you executed. I don't know if you remember it, so maybe I have to tell the story.
Yeah.
You remember dodgeball with Mrs. Oyer?
Oh, yeah.
In 2nd grade?
Frontier Elementary, Sea Springs,
so
719 represent.
I'm going to be honest but fair here. TJ was a larger than average young man, strong.
I was,
but an athlete he was not.
From about like 3rd grade until pretty much well into high school. I think I was usually one of the like 5 to 10 tallest.
So he had that going for
kids
him.
in that class.
But
yeah.
If I were to metaphor your athletic prowess,
mm-hmm.
have you seen those machines that folks are trying to train to squeeze ketchup bottles and whatnot?
Yeah,
that's a good metaphor for your athletic prowess in those days.
Yep.
Never has a more hapless tall gentleman.
I've never been particularly. The most success I ever had sports wise was in like a youth league basketball where I played center and I was tall, and that was about the extent of it. I was a Yao Ming.
I'm just gonna put it this way: TJ in 2nd grade was hopeless. Like just not an athletic specimen.
No.
Literally the exact opposite. We're playing dodgeball. I forget when I was out, but it wasn't early, but it wasn't late, and it comes down just sort of a trick of things. It's just you and these two other kids. And one of them was one of those kids who was actually good at sports, as good at sports as you can be in second grade, but was also kind of a shithead. Like, just want to, and we've all had those in our elementary school classes.
Not mention any names. But,
and we won't. I don't remember his last name. I remember his first name.
I still remember it. I feel like that's almost like like that puts you on a list somewhere. Like, I remember the names of most of the people who were shits to me when I was a kid.
But this dude says something like, "All right, easy out, easy out, easy out." Throws the ball. TJ catches it. The only time I've ever seen him catch a ball thrown at him.
Might be the only time ever, yeah.
And it was so great because you catch it and you just kind of look down at it like, that just happened. Like, I just caught it. He's out.
Yeah.
He's out. Our best player comes running in because that's the rule of dodgeball, right?
You catch
Jackie.
one.
She was an athletic specimen. Yeah.
I don't want to embarrass anyone who might come across this podcast in the future, but this was like the girl that my parents jokingly said they wanted me to marry
because of her like Spartan DNA. This chick was the top performer in our elementary school at the presidential fitness test. Like, she was an animal. Climbed the non-knotted rope without using her legs. Like, we're talking like a beast. Yeah. Jackie comes in as the last member on their team.
Yeah.
Like, panic throws his ball. Jackie catches his ball. It's out. We win the game. And you didn't stop looking down at the ball you caught.
I'm amazed that you
the whole time
have this vivid
Oh,
memory.
it was so cool. You were so tickled pink. You were like, and what was great is it wasn't that we won that little TJ was. He was like, Dylan, I caught it. Did you see? I caught the ball. I'm like, yeah, you know the game wasn't over, and the dude threw it right at you after that. And he's like, I don't care. I caught the ball. I caught the ball. Where's my inhaler? It was great. It was an absolute. It was so cool. And your joy was just so honest that it was memorable to me. It was like that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Miss Oyer gave you a pat on the back, which she wasn't prone to do.
Yeah.
She's tough but fair gym teacher, and she was not prone to give praise when it wasn't earned. She gave you some well-earned praise.
Yeah.
And she used to kind of like we were second graders playing dodgeball. It's like, way to be clutch, Hafer, way to be clutch. It's like we're second graders playing dodgeball.
I'd be curious to know if she's still teaching, because she was an older lady, but
incredible shape.
I feel like even if she's in 110 now, she probably could still like run a marathon or something. She was that kind of a
she was incredible.
Oh yeah, we had some really good teachers.
Frontier was a remarkable school.
It was, a
blue ribbon school. That was a remarkable school. Great. We were lucky to spend 4 of our 5 elementary school years there.
Yeah.
And it should have been 5 out of 5. But our parents wanted us to speak French for some reason. And we will talk endless crap about that experience till the day we die.
I think we've discussed at some point in a YouTube video or podcast about
our 3rd grade misadventures.
Our French teacher, who we don't think actually spoke French and would stage
phone calls with her mother-in-law in Belgium.
Her quote-unquote, French-speaking mother or something. And then I would go back to my dad,
who does speak French.
Who was, when he went to France during college, they thought he was French-Canadian because he spoke French that well, and he wasn't raised bilingual or anything, but and he was like, she told you what was how you say that? No, I mean, is that a Belgian thing?
Maybe it was. I don't know.
Maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe she was really proficient.
To say that this instructor, this madame, did not have our respect would be to put it kindly. But so a comeback victory playing dodgeball where you caught the ball, the fastball thrown by one of our class's stud second grade athletes. Man.
Yeah,
well done.
Yep. So what's yours? Since
mine.
Because you had an athletic career, much more so than I did.
I was guilty ahead of this situation of taking an adversary lighter than I should have. And I feel like I have to admit that publicly because it's important. It's an important detail. He was younger than me. I was 20, and he was 18, had just turned 18. Armando was his name. Again, no last names here. Skinny beanpole of a kid, but really quite athletic. Like, I remember watching him warm up in the thing, like, I'm going to run over this 18-year-old stick. Like, he's only here because puberty gifted him with 5 pounds. Like, that was my attitude. And I dwarfed him. And I'm a southpaw. For those of you who follow fighting, for those of you I'm left-handed. For those of you who follow, that actually poses a lot of trouble to rookie fighters in the stand-up and MMA and in boxing.
And that's another tidbit of I have done some athletic stuff in the past. Is I took fencing in college, and I really hated fighting left-handed fencers, and I'm sure it's the same.
It's worse
with boxing. Yeah,
it's worse for rookies.
Yeah,
you can learn things over time, and really only through getting in rounds against lefties that can ease that discomfort and settle in. Like Bernard Hopkins, who's a legend. He ate southpaws for dinner. Like for the last 10 years of his career, he was something crazy, like 8-1 against them, and we're talking like southpaws were in the top 5 of their weight class at the professional level. So you can get around the lefty jinx. But this kid was an 18-year-old rookie, and like I said, a lot smaller than me, and he'd had something like half the experience. I didn't have a lot of respect for his trainer, truth be told.
Yeah.
So I thought I would run over him. He wouldn't see my left hand coming. And my strategy in boxing, I had a kind of a meat and potatoes sort of approach. I would come in behind my jab, which was very good. My right jab for a left-handed guy, I actually had a very good right jab, and I think anyone would give me credit for that. I would throw my left hands low to the body. No one ever saw that coming at that level. Southpaw leading with his left to the gut. And I would use that to set up what was sort of my money situation, which was the double right hook. I would go up top, and then I'd dig it to the body. And I scored a lot of stoppages that way, with a good solid right hook to the ribs, with leaving the guy, gasping like a frog. So I was thinking I was just going to go to my meat and potatoes, go to my favorite stuff, and I figured I'd overwhelm him for those reasons. Armando was a stud, like a really athletic kid. And my first inkling of that was watching how well he moved, waiting for me to come to the ring. It was good footwork, like shadow boxing. He had some moves, he had some coordination. And he neutralized my jab instantly by parrying it with his left hand. I would fire my right jab, he would catch it, and he would shoot his right hand right down the center, which anyone who knows boxing knows that the best way to get to a southpaw is to fire a good, straight as an arrow, sharp right hand down the center while he's moving in, because I don't really have a good way to get around that punch. I don't have a good slip direction, and if I try to sell out, slipping to my right, I'm going to run right into his left hand, and if I sell out, slipping to my left, which requires me to lean a whole extra foot, I'm off balance, and if he has the ability to double up his right hand, he's gonna freaking pop me. And Armando could double up on the right hand, and his right hand was very fast, and he hit a lot harder than I thought he would for his size. He starts parrying my right jab with his left hand and just lighting me up with straight right hands. My trainer later said it wasn't as bad as it felt. I think it might have been because he hit me really hard a couple of times, but I thought he was tattooing me. My trainer says it was only like 10 or 15 right hands in that first round, which is actually a lot, but it's not like, he didn't Floyd Mayweather Arturo Gotti me, but it felt like he did. I felt like he couldn't miss me with the right hand, and I couldn't get to him. And I'm trying to even it up, and my instinct was to throw my left hand back as soon as he threw his right hand, which is not a bad way to go, unless you're off balance with your head snapped back, knocked back on your heels, and you're throwing your left hand back. My left hand had no power. He was blocking them. He was slipping them. He was hitting me again. He boxed my ears off in that first round. Very one-sided round. Boxed my ears off. And I was slow to adjust because I wasn't in great shape. I had not approached the week before this encounter, let's say professionally. I was slow to adjust. In the second round, I actually tried to stay away from him just to get my... And he, I got to give him all the credit in the world. For an 18-year-old, he went on the front foot like a pro when he saw that I was getting a little gun-shy. And he started varying up his right hand. He'd shoot this one time in the second round, he shot a straight right hand to my body that I dropped my left hand to try to parry. He faked it. He pulled it back. And he doubled up. He threw a right uppercut, same sequence, knocked my headgear around my face, and knocked my mouthpiece out of the ring. Like, we're talking just like, blow, like, what is even going on? And, that round ends, my trainer's like, Dylan, you gotta go to the body. He's so skinny. Like, just get him on the ropes and hit this dude. Like, you're more afraid of him. He's beating you, but you're more afraid of him than he deserves. I was just so rattled to have been neutral, to have my A game, my plan A, have been neutralized so thoroughly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I was reeling. So here comes third final round. I come out. He backs into the ropes off of a double jab from me, and I see what he does. Like, I see him, he shifts into a crab guard. He's planning to parry my left hand, because at this point I'm swinging for the fences because I'm rattled. And he's going to come back, he's going to shoot a right hand, maybe right hand, left hook off the ropes, circle out. This kid was slick, if I haven't communicated already. And he actually, I'm pretty sure he became he still fights, I think, in a state near here, and he's a fairly accomplished pro. I mean, not like world ranked or anything, but he's a professional fighter now, and he's got a winning record.
Yeah.
And he sets with the cross guard, and I see it in time to take an extra step forward with my right, plant my left, and drive my straight left to the body. Like, I saw it in time to adjust the flight path, and I saw it in time to adjust my feet so that I could throw a fully leveraged cross, right? I hit him half by luck, half by this adjustment, as clean in the solar plexus as I think I've ever hit anybody ever. This poor kid folded like I shot him.
Yeah.
The ref started counting, got to 6, he threw up, and it was stopped.
That'll do it.
Big body shot in a contest where I wasn't looking, and he was about 2 minutes away from some well-deserved bragging rights getting the better out of me. Someone older, someone bigger, and I pulled it out of the fire with one shot, and I'm particularly proud of that because, again, looking back, it was not an unsalvageable situation. I had a lot of time to hit him with something big, and I had the strength and the power advantage. And he was falling back to the ropes thinking that he could play me that way. By the way, falling back into the ropes is a terrible idea against a southpaw body puncher with the power that I possessed. Mm-hmm. That was like my ideal situation. But it felt like he was getting the better of me so decisively, right? I was so demoralized that to turn it around and to finish things and to get out of there with one straight left downstairs was extremely satisfying. It felt more epic, like I said, than any of my friends gave me credit for it being. They were like, yeah, good job. But I was like, did you just see that? That was like some Rocky stuff. I'm like, no, it wasn't. You weren't doing as badly as you thought you were doing, but it felt like I was.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool for me.
Nice.
That was pretty cool for me.
Yeah. I think the comeback is always a story that
they're going to be talking about the Super Bowl that happened today forever.
Yeah,
like it's down from 28-3. It'll never happen again, folks. You'll die before someone comes back in the Super Bowl down 24 points.
Yeah,
or 25 points. Sorry, it won't happen again. And yeah, was a part of that the Falcons choking? Yes, it was. The Falcons did some stupid stuff in that fourth quarter because they were panicking because all of a sudden here comes the pressure, right? Yeah. Oh my God, we've got to finish them. That's actually a really rough situation. There's nothing more dangerous than a cornered adversary, I've found in sports, because they'll do anything. And if you're not ready to be calm and be professional and go about your business, a cornered adversary can actually make a lot of things happen. There's a reason the cornered cougar is sort of the metaphor. They'll tear you up if you let them, because at this point they're not gonna leave anything untried. They're gonna leave it all, and I think that's what happened to the Falcons. I think they thought it was over. They got punched in the mouth, and then they got punched in the mouth again, and they collapsed. But that's how most comebacks start. Is the first setback happens to the person who thinks they've got whatever's going on well in hand, and it snowballs. Yeah. And part of it is the underdog party riding that wave to victory, as improbable as it is. But it must be said that part of it is the mistakes that the person who's a mile in front makes when he's panicking. That open those doors for the comebacking person to walk through. And that's why I think it's so remarkable. Like when I'm saying what happened tonight in that football game was historical and should have been impossible, it's because it should have been. If Atlanta kicks one more field goal, that game is over. Yeah. Like, done. They were 3 points away from a lead that would have been mathematically impossible to surmount. And they had a decent, not a good, but a decent third quarter. This all happened to them in the fourth quarter and in the first drive of overtime. It's just a meltdown. But it's also an amazing comeback. Yeah, definitely. So comebacks. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. I think that's a good discussion. Definitely. And hopefully we'll have more comeback moments like that actually on video. On our Loresworn YouTube to show off coming forward. Like we've had a couple of we've survived a couple sketchy Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space moments. No, it reminds me that actually there was a time that I was in this basketball game where these aliens had stolen the NBA players'
the talent
powers
from a bunch of these these NBA players.
And who would have thought that you needed Bugs Bunny
yeah,
and Michael Jordan from his baseball days to turn around and to save those poor little cartoons from slavery?
that's some serious stuff.
And they gave Bill Murray all the goddamn credit, and he didn't do nothing.
Someone needs to mod that into Stellaris that you can like get a CB on an enemy empire that like if you beat them in a basketball game you get to enslave all their pops or something. Yeah, that would be.
That is one of those great Incredibad movies. Like objectively, Space Jam was a bad film, but it is so entertaining. And I'm gonna be fair here. I've seen a lot of sports stars try to act. It's typically ugly.
By the way, if you haven't already, go on YouTube right now and look up Charles Barkley's Civilization 4, because somebody did a mashup of the Space Jam theme and the Baba Yetu
and it's good
menu screen theme from Civilization 4, and it's one of the best things I've ever seen on YouTube, especially because the comments. YouTube comments usually suck, but on this video, it's
I will say
it's pages and
of
pages of
gold.
Civilization 4 tech unlock quotes remixed to be about slamming and jamming, and it's pretty epic.
I would say that we actually stand a good chance of having we have a pretty remarkable thing going in that our comment section is actually not sludge.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm routinely astonished at how awesome our comment section actually is. You get a lot of haters on YouTube, and we have not experienced that yet.
We have a pretty good community.
It's coming as we grow, of course, but I love what we've got so far.
And that does it for our first special episode of Talk Shop. More to come. Every Tuesday is going to be the day we're going to be releasing those new episodes now, so you can look for that every week. Subscribe to our channel if you're not already to find out when. Also check out @LoreSwornOrder on Twitter. I'm @AsaTJ. DM is @DMSchmeier. And we will be back with more Talk Shop next week.